Council will consider at this hearing, council will consider an application for a temporary use permit for property located at 1401 Boutwell Avenue. The temporary use permit will be introduced by staff, presenting a brief synopsis of the proposal. Following the introduction, I will open the floor to presentations by the public. So at this point, Scott is going to deal with 1401 Boutwell Avenue. Then he's going to go on Madison, or going to start with Madison, Boutwell, and then Roma. Yeah. Okay. As I only have one name here, so I'm piecing this all together. So you have the floor, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson. For each application, I'll read a script, and then at that time, I'll do a presentation, and then if anybody has any questions or anything, they can direct them to the chair, and then the chair will have the appropriate person to answer the questions. It could be staff, it could be the owners, but so I'll start with the first application for this is temporary use permit 23060 PUP located at 1214 Martinson Avenue. So this public hearing, council consider issuance of temporary use permit 23060 TUP. The temporary use permit would permit a short-term rental for a period of 3 years located at the property legally described as Lot 8, District Lot 497, Kamloops Division, Yale District, Plan 26442. The public are invited to make presentations to council, and all persons who believe their interest in properties affected proposed temporary use permit shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard, or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed temporary use permit. Please direct all your comments through the chair. Members of council may, if they wish, ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the main function of council is to listen to views of the public. It is not the function of council at this hearing to debate the merits of the proposal with individual citizens. Please observe these rules, and if you have any concerns with the manner in which the hearing is conducted, direct your comments through the chair. Everyone shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard at this hearing. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. If you'd like to make a presentation, raise your hand. If you're attending through Zoom to speak during the meeting, please click the hand icon to raise your hand electronically and you can be in the queue to speak. The final opportunity to comment on the proposed temporary use permit will be during the hearing, as members of council are not permitted to receive further submissions after the close of the hearing. Again, please direct your comments to the chair by raising your hand or electronically raising your hand to speak. I'll now provide a synopsis of the application. So here on the screen, you can see an air photo, and the property at 1214 Martinson is outlined in the hashed area. So it's at the corner of Martinson and Con, right across the street from the fire hall. And then you can see where the TransCanada is, and probably gives a pretty good location the property is. Here's just a photo taken out front of the property. You can see it's just a single family dwelling in the R1 zone. The OCP designation is residential low density. And the zoning is R1, which is our 1 and 2 single family residential zone. So in that zone, the permitted use is single unit dwelling or 2 unit dwelling. You are permitted a sleeping unit if you have a single unit or a 2 unit dwelling on the property. So in this case, the property is solely used as a short-term rental. So that's why a temporary use permit is required. So the temporary use permit has a number of conditions in it. So this temporary use permit is the use of a dwelling as a short-term rental. It's 3 years is requested, and they intend to apply for a 2-year extension for a total of 5 years. It's part of a 5-year retirement plan. It's 5 bedrooms, and for each bedroom, you have to provide a parking space. So in this case, it's 5 bedrooms, and there's 6 off-street parking spaces. As a condition of the issuance, the owner will install and maintain a landscape screen along the west front for privacy purposes. So in this application, one of the comments that we received as staff was just a need for some privacy, and the owner has said they were going to provide that privacy screen. We're not asking for a security deposit, and a business license application has been received for this property. So as part of the consultation process, we circulate this out to neighboring property owners. A sign is posted on the property and we accept responses from the public. In this case, we received one person who was response from one person who's in favor of the property. They said the property is kept neat and tidy and they're very happy with the owners. We received another one against any of the three temporary use permits we received. Those are attached to your agenda. And in general, I think that person doesn't like the idea of short-term rentals, commercial use in a neighborhood where there's families. Planning and Development Committee recommended approval. We had no concerns from the building inspector, the bylaw officer, the engineering technologist. They didn't have any concerns, and there were no issues or concerns from the fire chief. So if you want to open this for the public on this particular one.
On this particular one, we'll open it up to the floor.
Yeah.
Anyone wants to speak to this, or anyone online? I will call a second time. Anyone in the gallery? Anyone online? Calling a third time. Okay. This particular public hearing is closed.
I'll start. So I'll start with the second public hearing. So this is another temporary use permit. And so I'll read the opening statement. So at this public hearing, council can consider issuance of temporary use permit 23060 TUP for property located at 1401 Boutwell Avenue. Temporary use permit would permit a short-term rental for a period of 3 years located legally described as Lot A, Section 6, Township 22, Range 7, west of the 6th Meridian, Hamilton Division of the Yale District, Plan 13550. Public are invited to make presentations to the council, and all persons who believe their interest in properties affected by the proposed temporary use permit shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed temporary use permit. Please direct all your comments through the chair. Members of council may, if they wish, ask questions following your presentation. However, this main function of council is to listen to the views of the public. It is not the function of council at this hearing to debate the merits of the proposal with individual citizens. Please observe these rules. If you have any concerns with the manner in which the hearing is conducted, direct your comments to the chairperson. Everyone shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard at this hearing. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. If you'd like to make a presentation, raise your hand. If you're on Zoom, you can raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon and you'll be in the queue to speak. Your final opportunity to comment on the proposed temporary use permit will be during the hearing, as members of council are not permitted to receive further submissions after the close of the hearing. Again, please direct your comments to the chair or by raising your hand electronically to speak. I'll now provide the synopsis of this application. So this is a temporary use permit application, very similar to the previous application where it's temporary use for short-term rental in the R1 zone. This property is located at 1401 Boutwell Avenue. So you can see it, the property's hatched right here on this air photo, and you can see where the Rama Crescent meets Seepage Road, and then this is the Trans-Canada Highway right there. Here's a photo taken from outside the property. Again, it's a residential property, a single-family dwelling in the R1 zone. And the OCP designation is residential low density. You can see the relationship of it to the highway commercial zone, which is the darker color. And then the property is zoned R1, which is the single and two family residential. So again, in order to have a standalone short-term rental, a temporary use permit is required. So this one again is very much similar to the other one. Temporary use permit for dwelling units, a short-term rental, 3 years is requested, and they intend to apply for another 2 years. And this one's 4 bedrooms. It has 6 off-street parking spaces. As a condition of issuance, the owner has agreed to erect a pergola to screen a hot tub from the neighboring property on the north side. Again, no security deposit required, and a business license application has been received for this property. And again, we did circulate this out to neighbors, and then we also had a signpost on the property. We did receive 3 letters. So we have 1 letter that's part of the package that was against it, and they were against temporary use permits for short-term rentals in all the residential zones. We had another person saying that they were in favor of it. Again, the property is well maintained and it's well managed and it doesn't cause them a problem. And we did have one that came in and it was against, and it was noise and parking issues. And then they particularly mentioned the hot tub. I don't know if that's the same neighbor who had the concerns about the hot tub, but it sounds like they are addressing it with the erecting a pergola. And again, there's no issues or concerns from the internal referrals, and the Planning and Development Committee recommended approval.
Okay, we're going to open the hearing. Open it to the gallery and to those online. Does anyone have any comments? Would like to speak to this? I'll ask a call a second time. Nothing. Calling a third time. Okay, this hearing's closed.
Okay, we'll move on to the third public hearing. So again, I'll read the opening statement. So at this public hearing, council considered temporary use permit 23-110 TUP for property located at 1321 Rama Avenue. The temporary use permit would permit a short-term rental for a period of 3 years located the property legally described as Lot 1, Section 6, Township 22, Range 7, west of the 6th Meridian, Kamloops Division, Yale District, Plan 6838. Public invited to make presentation to council, and all persons who believe their interest in properties affected by the proposed temporary use permit shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed temporary use permit. Please direct all your comments through the chair. Members of council may, if they wish, ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the main function of council is to listen to the views of the public. It is not the function of council at this hearing to debate the merits of the proposal with individual citizens. Please observe these rules, and if you have any concerns with the manner in which the hearing is conducted, direct your comments to the chairperson. Everyone shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard at this hearing. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. If you'd like to make a presentation, raise your hand. If you're attending through Zoom to speak during the meeting, please click the hand icon to raise your hand electronically, and you will be in the queue to speak. Your final opportunity to comment on the proposed temporary use permit will be during the hearing, as members of council are not permitted to receive further submissions after the close of the hearing. Again, please direct your comments to the chair by raising your hand or electronically raising your hand to speak. Now provide a synopsis of the application. So on the screen, you can see where this property is located. It's located on Rama Avenue. You can see it half from the property right there. And then this is the Trans-Canada Highway, and then Tim Hortons right there. So you can pretty good idea where the property is. Here's I guess going back, the property faces Rama Avenue to the west, and then it's actually on Roma Crescent to the north. And one aspect of this application is they're actually looking to construct something on the property where they would actually have another dwelling unit, and then the temporary or the short-term rental would become accessory to that dwelling unit. So they'd actually eventually meet the zoning bylaws. So this temporary permit is temporary in nature. So here you can see the property as you're looking east towards it, and then there's that space behind it that they're looking to actually construct another dwelling, and then this would become the secondary use and the short-term rental. Again, here you can see it's zoned, or it's in the residential low density OCP designation area, and then you can see the black outlined area. That's the highway commercial B designation. And here you can see it's zoned R1, and then you can see the C2 highway commercial zone just to the south. Again, this is a temporary use permit for dwelling unit as a short-term rental. They do plan to construct a secondary dwelling, and then it will essentially become an Airbnb or a B&B, your traditional B&B with a second building as the bedrooms. 3 years is requested. They may apply for a 2-year extension. It's 4 bedrooms. They have 6 off-street parking spaces, and a business license has been received for this property. Planning and Development Committee recommended approval. No concerns from the internal referrals. Again, this was advertised, was mailed out to adjacent property owners. They had the notice on the property. We did receive 2 responses. Both of them are attached to the agenda. One of them is against temporary or short-term rentals in general in the residential areas. And another one had, yeah, similar general concerns where, with families and traffic and noise and commercial uses, they feel it doesn't fit in the neighborhood. I believe the applicants are not online, but available to answer any questions.
Okay, we'll open up this hearing. Anyone in the gallery or anyone online that has say something? Calling a second time? Calling a third time? Okay, this public hearing's closed. Okay, so temporary, we are going to deal with these individually now as council. So we're going to start with temporary use permit application number 23-060 TUP 1214 Martinson Avenue. I'll read the recommendation and we'll move on from there. That the District of Sycamoose authorize and issue temporary use permit number 23-060 TUP for Lot 8, District Lot 497, Kamloops Division, Yale District, Plan 26442, 1214 Martinson Avenue for a short-term rental for a period of 3 years, subject to conditions of permit. Could I get a mover on that? Board, seconder by Councillor Rich. Councillors, do you want a discussion? I'm going to make a comment because I feel like a lot of work has been put into this, and as far as short-term rentals, and the reason that the rezoning was done and a lot of work went into it was because of the housing issue in the District of Sycamoose, as well as short-term renters and in residential areas especially. There were some issues that were brought up when we started this process. I personally live next to a short-term renter and sold my place and bought another one because I just didn't fit into that. So I just wanted to comment on that and the fact that we rezoned and excluded short-term rentals in residential areas because that was what people were asking for. And now we're going to a short-term use permit. So just wanted to point that out. So moving forward, I guess, council, we will call the question. So all those in favor? Bree, Bob, are you in favor?
Yeah.
4. Opposed? 3 in favor. It's carried. Oh, you want me to do this one first? Yeah. Okay. So moving along, recommendation. Okay, temporary use permit application 23061 TUP 1401 Well Avenue. Recommendation that the District of Sycamoose authorize and issue temporary use permit number 23-061-TUP for Lot A, Section 6, Township 22, Range 7, west of the 6th Meridian, Kamloops Division of Yale District, Plan 13550, 1401 Botwell Avenue for a short-term rental for a period of 3 years, subject to conditions of the permit. Can I get a mover? Councillor Bailey, Councillor Bushel, any discussion? Councillor Bushel.
Through the chair, yeah, I just wanted to, express my favor of this temporary use permit and all these temporary use permits. We went to great lengths to figure out how to include the residential areas and look after people like the Kerrs that have invested in our community, who have lived here a long time. And it's a way that it's a stepping stone. It's a way we can be able to allow it and look after our short-term rental industry. I mean, if we were to say no to the whole thing except for Riverside Avenue, it would be, it would probably hurt our MRDT tax, and it's a stepping stone, and I think it's the right thing to do. If the Kerrs all of a sudden decide they don't want to look after their renters and decide to move away, we can pull that temporary use permit at any time. And so I think this is a good way to control it. And I think, you know, coming up, staff coming up with this temporary use permit for short-term rentals is a good way to look after the, you know, the people that were trying to do a business like this and that live in our community and contribute to our community. So I think it'll work. And yeah, I'm just in favor of this proposal.
Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I want to echo what Councillor just said. I mean, I think we had a hard time even at planning and development when we thought about this. And I'm in favor of all three. And it's not because I'm in favor of short-term rentals in residential areas, but I am in favor of the transition we're trying to make in these communities. And this was never going to be, you know, a one policy decision fits all. And I feel like, you know, we have people who are honest here coming forward, trying to make the right call, not doing it under, you know, cover of night or what anything. And they're going through the process, and I respect that. And I know I think everyone knows there's a housing crisis in Sycamore, and that this is not, you know, taking away from that. And we're making, I think, steps to help, you know, alleviate that. So that's why I'm voting in favor of all three of them. I respect that they're coming forward. They're doing it in the right way. And these are temporary in nature. They know that. They've made a commitment that it's 5 years. We can only extend it to 6 anyways. And, you know, as we go forward with this transition, I want to do it in a responsible way. And I think these homeowners have done that. So thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Bailey. Anyone else? Okay, I'm gonna Councillor Beach.
Yeah, I would agree with Ian that it is a responsible way to go forward. I do worry about, you know, the fact that we're going to get a whole bunch of these, but I suppose it'll get them all licensed in the process, right? So, and it is temporary. So I accept the explanation from Gord and Ian in this one, and I'll change my support.
Councillor Rich.
Through the chair, I think the other thing we need to consider is bylaw of 1,000 is a really strong bylaw. They have to be within an hour. If there are complaints, that doesn't go through a big bylaw officer, that will then go to the owners of the rental. And then if they're not dealing with their clients, then we will deal with them and we can pull permits. So I think bylaw 1,000 really has covered this. And then when we do have people that are doing good business and care about their neighbors and their neighborhoods and do that, I think we do have to include them, and I think it's a good thing.
Anyone else? Okay, Bob, you good? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Opposed? Okay, we're going to go to temporary use permit 23-061-TUP. Oh, sorry, that one we just did. You mixed me up here. Temporary use permit number 23-110-TUP 1321 Roma Avenue. Recommendation that the Planning and Development Committee recommend that. I don't know. Oh, that the District of Sycamoose authorize an issue temporary use permit number 23110 TUP for lot 1, section 6, township 22, range 7 west of the 6th meridian, Kamloops Division, Yale District Plan 6823, 1321 Roma Avenue for a short-term rental for a period of 3 years from March to November, subject to conditions of permit. Could I get a mover? Councillor Bushel, Councillor Bailey. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Just me. Carried. Okay, thanks, guys. Okay, delegations. Angie Spencer, BDO, Canada LLP -2022 consolidated financial statements. Recommendation that the District of Sycamoose 2022 consolidated financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2021, as presented by BDO Canada LLP be approved. And that BDO Canada LLP be appointed as auditors for the 2023 fiscal year. And then I'll go through each of these. Okay, Angie, are you online?
I am, Your Worship. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You have the floor.
Okay, thanks for having me this evening. My name is Angie Spencer and I'm a partner with BDO, and I have conducted the independent audit of the District of Sycamoose as at December 31st. I will just go through our final report and just some highlights of the financial statements, just some significant changes. So if we move on to page 2 and 3, it is our independent audit report. This will look consistent to prior years in the sense that we are issuing what's considered a clean or unqualified audit opinion, meaning that the financial statements are presented fairly and considered to be free of any material misstatement. And they are presented in accordance with public sector accounting standards, which of course is required of the district and all municipalities. These are subject to your review and approval tonight, as noted in your motion. Moving on to page 4. This is the consolidated statement of financial position. This is a summary of all the assets, less liabilities of the District of Sycamoose as at December 31st. So total financial assets came in at just over 19 million. That was very consistent with prior year at 19.5 million. Some notable changes. Cash did increase quite substantially, largely due to some large grant amounts receivable in the prior year that were received in 2022, in addition to some shifting around of portfolio investments from investments, as you can see, about 4 lines down, up into cash. In terms of liabilities came in at 13 million. That was down slightly from 14.3. Again, there were some larger projects happening at the end of fiscal last year. So a large amount of accounts payable that was outstanding, and that's gone down to more normal levels, if you will. Deferred revenue, this relates to any conditional grants or deferred development cost charges that have stipulations attached to them. So those are recognized here in deferred revenue and will be brought into income as those expenses related to those grants are incurred. Long-term debt continues to be paid down. There was no new debt issued during 2022. So that represents a repayment of about 362,000 of debt during the year. Down in non-financial assets includes tangible capital assets. So this is, all the infrastructure and buildings and land held by the district. That increased over the year by about 2.6 million, most notably for biofuel equipment and building, and also some additional costs related to the healing center, and then other roads and infrastructure. And that was offset by annual amortization of those costs during the year. The accumulated surplus, which represents the total assets less liabilities for the district, was at 85.5 million at the end of the year. So moving on to the statement of operations. This is the total total revenues for fiscal 2022, less expenditures. The first column there is the budget that was set by Mayor and Council, and then the second column being the actual results. So total revenue came in at 11.2 million. That was down over prior year at 12.6 million, largely due to some grant funding that was received in 2021 due to the capital projects that were happening at that time. And that's slightly lower during this year. All other areas are really consistent and in line with what was budgeted, with the exception of investment income. Investment income is always budgeted very conservatively, and with the spiked interest rates during 2022, the district has been able to earn additional income off those investments. In terms of expenditures came in at just over 10 million. That was up from 9.3 million in the prior year. Some notable changes in that over other years would have been in public health. So with the health center, additional cost there, you'll see the increase from 622,000 up to over 1.1 million. And other areas remain fairly consistent with prior years. So the annual surplus for the district came in at 1.2 million. Keep in mind, this is under public sector accounting standards, so it doesn't take into account the capital items that have been capitalized on the balance sheet. So there is a note that reconciles the annual surplus to what was budgeted. I won't go through all the remaining notes to the financial statements. These are just a requirement under public sector accounting standards to provide more detail around the accounting policies of the district and more detail around the balance sheet and income statement numbers that I've discussed. But I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any related to the audit or the financial statements at this time.
Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I just see that in 2021, we also ran an annual surplus. Have we been running annual surpluses for a while now?
Through your worship, it is very common for an annual surplus to be shown from a public sector accounting presentation standpoint. And thank you for bringing up this note. Note 18 shows where you really have budgeted on an annual basis to have a zero budget, a balanced budget. But for presentation purposes, capital expenditures are brought to the balance sheet unless any transfers to and from accumulated surplus. So this note here really demonstrates probably what you're anticipating, which should be a zero-based kind of annual surplus to how it's presented simply for accounting standard purposes.
Yeah, good. I wanted to thank you for explaining that, because some people would look at that line and go, well, then why don't you lower the taxes? But it's an accounting thing, not a, well, reality thing, I guess, for, you know, for a lack of a better word there. So thank you for that.
Anyone else? Anyone else have any questions for Angie? Okay, then I'll reread this recommendation. Recommendation of the District of Sicamous, 2022 consolidated financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2022, as presented by BDO Canada LLP be approved, and that BDO Canada LLP be appointed as auditors for the 2023 financial year. Can I get a mover? Councillor Rich, Councillor Beach, any discussion? All in favor? Bob? Carried. Thank you. The second recommendation. Oh, is Angie going to present on this one as well? So Angie, do you want to move into the Dev Corp and then we'll read the recommendation as well?
Absolutely. So the District of Sicamous, of course, has its wholly owned subsidiary, the Development Corporation. We do not do a full audit on these financial statements, but provide what's called a compilation engagement report. So these have been compiled by management, and we have presented these today for your review and approval. You know, the Dev Corp was only put into existence a few years ago, so there isn't a significant amount of assets and liabilities on the balance sheet, which is presented above. So I won't speak too much to that. If we move though to the statement of operations, this just shows kind of the upward trends in terms of the revenue has increased from 188,871 up to 261,484. So, you know, some of that is contributions from the District of Sicamous, but the most notably being the MRDT tax, which of course is now, you know, increasing now that things are opening up, and the ability for more ongoing projects for it to be utilized. So in terms of the expenditures, you will see down in project costs, the increase there and being able to utilize some of that for ongoing projects. So total net income for the year for the Dev Corp was $42,223.
Council, any questions? No? Okay, Angie, we'll read the recommendation now. That the District of Sicamous Development Corporation 2022 financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2022 as presented by BDO Canada LLP be approved. Could I get a mover? Counselor Bushel, Counselor Rich. Any discussion? All in favor? Got a Bob? Carried. Thank you, Angie.
Thank you very much. I would like to, of course, take the opportunity to thank Bianca and Kelly for all their assistance with the audit. We really appreciate all their help and expertise.
Thank you. Yes, they're awesome.
Thanks, Angie.
Have a good evening.
You as well. Okay, bylaws and policies. So Bianca, I think you're just gonna take this over and away you go.
I'm gonna make it a bit more official. I'm gonna stand over here. Don't have you.
Going to be going over our 2023 financial plan, which ends up dictating our tax rate for 2023. Is the power button on?
Sometimes just gotta click it, take over, it's fine, it'll work.
Okay. Oh, look at you.
Oh.
You got our agenda.
So summarize first, what have we done so far? So we've held 4 finance meetings, 1 in January, 2 in February, and 1 in April. We've gone over our operational changes, we've discussed those. We've gone over our capital budgets and reviewed those. And one reason why everything was pushed back, we wanted to get our strategic priorities set and make sure that if we need to do any tweaks, we could, which actually our budget, the decisions we made before our strategic priorities actually lined up really well with our strategic priorities, which was awesome. So where are we now? We made it. We are passing this council's first financial plan. Very exciting. So just some basics. So what is a budget? It is an estimate of income and expenditure for a set period. This is our management and council's best, I want to say guess, educated guess of what the year is going to look like. So why do we set a budget? To plan, organize, track, and improve the finances for Sycamoose. To provide staff direction. To establish our tax rates. And last, but finally not least, we are required to do so from the charter. So, and then on top of it, the budget supports a lot of things. So it should support our infrastructure master plan, our revenue tax and budget policies, our fees and charges bylaw, and council's strategic priorities. So the budget considers a lot of different things. We look at our reserves. So this year's budget has over $1 million put to reserves, which is extremely healthy and very good for a community of our size. We look at grants available. So our operating budget alone has over $860,000 in grants. Capital has over $2.5 million in this year's budget. 30% of our capital budget, which is extremely strong. And included, we have our growing communities fund, which is going into reserve of 1.7. So that helps our reserves out a lot. Also, a big budget consideration that this council is very considerate of is what does our budget do to our taxes? So 1% tax increase this year generates approximately $48,000 in additional revenues. And that 1% tax increase results in about $17.46 to the average homeowner. Just things to consider when we're doing our budgets. And then of course, our budget considers a bunch of other things. What we know and anticipates the unknown. So we have inflation, interest rates, supply chain issues, which were big during COVID. And what does the future look like for Sycamoose? So these are all considered by council and by the management team. So we've had all our discussions. Here's our 2023 project highlights. Our first is investments in roads, bridges, and drainage, about $2.6 million. So I'm not sure if any of you have driven around town lately, but already gotten started, paving and widening White Pine Crescent, Meyer Road, and the Monashee frontage, widening those, which really plays well with our active transportation. We have our Riverside Avenue project. This is just the transportation side. We also have our water side, increasing the water main there. And then also with that widening for active transportation. And we have our Kerr Road culvert also in there. So those are three of the biggies in the roads, bridges, and drainage. We have our investment in parks, trails, and recreation. So our mountain bike park, pathways and trails, we have 50,000 set aside for this year. Capel Street Boat Launch 50. And I had to add this. I think Councillor Beach said it. She was pumped for the pump track. Planning, we have 20 set aside this year to get that going. So I know the community has seemed quite excited about it, pretty pumped. So that's in our parks, trails, and recreation. Investment in the fire department. We have our engine 5 planned for this year, 650. Our new 20-foot SPU trailer, which is a requirement from the province for SPU trailers, which actually ends up paying for itself. And then we also, I didn't include it on the slide, but we are pretty close to getting our Fire Smart grant. Look, it's looking good. So that's included in our operating. And yeah, we have Brent on there with a little boy. Actually on the right is my son at the Easter egg hunt. He enjoyed the fire trucks. Other capital projects, we've set 50,000 aside to go towards affordable housing. And finishing the bioheat facility, which we got an update on today. So over 900 for that. Already grant funded there. And then the biggie, which we got an update on today, Shoe Shop Healing Center. So construction is planned to begin this fall. Total build 8 million and 75% grant funded. And then of course we have some of our other fun projects going on. So our Narrows Crossing feasibility study, 50,000 grant funded. Community energy plan, 20,000 grant funded. And we have housing initiatives. We have 10,000 set aside in reserves for that to get some of those different initiatives that Scott's been talking about, getting those going. So what does this all come down to? We've looked at a lot of different line items, and it comes down to one piece of paper. So our plan, just our financial plan all wrapped up in a nice little bow on one page. And our revenues, this is actually pretty exciting stuff. I think 37% property taxes, 35.6 grants. So just showing that we are trying to get as many grants possible. So that's very, very good for the district of Sycamore, I believe. Expenses, pretty much online from last year. General government services, pretty much keeping this place running, transportation next, water, and so forth. Capital, big push for road, bridges, and equipment. Just the tidying up of soft spot bridges in there. That's why it's a little bit bigger than the summary on the roads and bridges page, but yeah, in our health services. So the healing center getting going. So the healing center is 25% of the total budgets in there for that. And then, so how much can a homeowner expect to pay? So the average residential home in Sycamore is valued at just over $540,000. So our 3.95% tax increase results in about $2,600, about $7 a day. So getting pretty good value, I believe. But we're not the only ones that are collecting property taxes. So when our tax notices go out, the district collects the whole pie, but we don't keep it. So if someone tells you, hey, my property taxes went up by more than expected from what you say, well, we collect for others. So school tax makes up the average homeowner's bill almost 25%, CSRD 7.7%, and so forth. So we collect 58.5% of their tax bill. The rest is from other agencies. So how that works out for an average homeowner, that's about $1,300 for 2023. and where we're seeing increases, just so you know, this information usually isn't provided during financial planning time. Because we get this, I literally got some of these numbers last week. So for those who have seen this presentation before, it's a little more information than usual. So yeah, $1,300 for our residents. They get their homeowner grant, so about $770 for those under 65, over 65, just over $1,000 off of that. But our big increases, school tax went up almost $40. And the big one, policing, it went up 22%. That was a lot to do with wage negotiations that were finalized. Overall, we can actually $100 with average citizen to feel safe. I think they're doing okay. And yeah, so those are our rates, our financial plan, of our next steps. So today we're doing 3 readings of the financial plan bylaw and the tax rates bylaw. And then Friday, we'll just have a special meeting to adopt those. Friday's our deadline. We're taking it right down to the deadline. So yeah, so if there's any questions.
I have one,
Yeah.
Bianca, on the policing, going up 22%. Is that just for this year? Because I know there's a lot, I know that bill was huge. And they were going to divide it depending on the size of the communities, right? So some of the communities and cities were going to take that hit over 3 years.
Yeah.
This is it, press though, correct? It's just, we're taking a hit
Thing I've read, we're taking the hit right away.
right now.
What the governments have been doing, like other communities that do front most of their policing bill, they've been getting notices every year saying, put money to reserves, put money to reserves. And I don't believe the our section is any different. They've been wrapping up, but it was a bigger hit than I think they expected. So from what I've read, we shouldn't see such a big jump next year.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions for Bianca?
Through the chair, thank you. Bianca, on that tax rates, utilities, I remember when we got on, we actually bumped our utilities. I think it was at 1 point something, we bumped it up to whatever it is today. It's 2.9, whatever it is, 2.94. Is that the maximum we can take on utilities?
On this, which
On the property tax values? You know how you break it out on residential, utilities, light industry, business and farm
on the actual,
on the actual property tax?
we are maxing it out as
Yeah.
pretty far as we can go. And to be quite honest, the utilities are pushing back a lot with the province. They are pushing back on their assessment values. And they're kind of throwing up flags that, hey, like, we don't like this. So we're pushing as far as we can possibly go. I've used all of Kelly's lovely tax spreadsheets and we pretty much go to our max.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, let's read the recommendation. Oh, okay, all right. Okay, I did not realize that. Okay, so we do have public input at this portion. So do we have anyone online or in the gallery that has any finance questions?
Bob has his hand up, I think.
Oh, does Bob?
No.
No, stretching.
Okay. No one's got their hand up? Okay, then let's move on. So recommendation of the District of Sycamoose Financial Plan Bylaw number 1041, 2023 be given first, second, and third reading this 10th day of May, 2023. Can I get a mover? Gord, Siobhan, sorry, Councillor Bushel, Councillor Rich, all in favor? Bob? Carried, okay. 2023 tax bylaw number 1042, 2023, first, second, and third reading. Recommendation of the District of Sycamoose tax rates bylaw number 1042, 2023 be giving first, second, and third reading this 10th day of May 2023. Could I get a mover? Councillor Bushel, Councillor Bailey, All in favor? Carried. Bianca, thank you very much. And you know what? I don't think anyone can complain about the tax increase for the district of Sycamoose for the amount that we do and the amount that staff is accomplishing. I think you guys are doing a great job. So thank you.
To the chair, I just want to thank Bianca for a really, really nice breakout of finances. Like usually these things are, scary to look at or understand, but thank you for breaking it out so creatively and clearly.
Thanks. She learned from Kelly had, actually Kelly probably wins because she had people applauding the tax increase a couple of years ago. It's like, yeah. Bianca, you did a fabulous job. Okay, let's move on. Elected official standard of conduct bylaw 1037/2023, first reading. Donna, do you want to speak to this and then I'll read the recommendation?
Sure.
Thanks.
So thank you to the chair. On April the 12th, I had brought this bylaw in draft form to council for discussion. And then subsequently after that, there was an opportunity for council to provide feedback to it. It's been several months in the making of this standard of conduct in consultation with other municipalities, legal, following, there was a guideline that was put out through the working group responsible for conduct, which was a sort of a joint initiative through UPCM, the local LGMA and the province. So we followed that model, as well as some working papers that were given to us through legal through Young Anderson, and then it was brought back to them for full vetting. So I'm bringing to you today the final policy or the final bylaw for first reading.
Okay, thank you. So the recommendation here is that the District of Sycamoose elected official standard of conduct bylaw number 1037/2023 be giving first reading this 10th day of May 2023. I get a mover, Councillor Beach, Councillor Rich. Any discussion? Councillor Bailey.
Other than to say, sorry, I never got back to you with some comments on it, but I did take a look through it and I saw that you did make some changes, actually quite a few from your first draft as well. Could you just maybe explain some of the things that yeah.
Some of the things that were tweaked, really, and I think when I had sent it out for some final comments, just taking a look at maybe some more, putting in a few more definitions, right? And then just looking at the language and making sure that everything reads very clearly, very concisely. And so that when we roll it out to everyone, that it's very clear in its language. And that really was centering around what the actual conduct looks like and what breaches, how we handle a breach of conduct in regard. So those were the changes that were made.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions for Shauna? Okay, let's call the question. All in favor? And Bob? I think he's going to be there. Sorry. Bob? What about Bob?
Has his hand.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Yes.
Okay, carried. Thank you, Shauna.
Thank you.
Okay, staff reports, development permit number 22-331 DP and development variance permit number 22-331 DVP 469 Main Street. Scott, you want to speak to this?
And thank you, Mayor Anderson. So this is an application for a development permit and a development variance permit. It's for the mobile home park that's just across the road. So if you go to the front door and have a look, you'll see what we're talking about. Staff is recommending that the development permit, development variance permit be issued. It's essentially for allowing landscaping and fencing. And so with the development permit, it's in the multifamily development permit area, town center development permit area. So we're looking at form and character and then landscaping. And then the variance is to vary the height of the fence and the landscaping to allow for 2 meters, and that's because of 2 meters of a roadway. Move forward in the presentation, I think. So here you can see the air photo of the property. You can see the district hall right across the road. So what essentially happened was during the Fire Smart cleanup, then Brett's crew went in and they cleaned up a lot of the vegetation that posed a risk. And when they did that, it ended up that a lot of the properties were then exposed to the street and they didn't have the privacy they once had. So they wanted to replace the vegetation. And they came and they talked to Sarah about that, and they want to plant cedar hedges, which cedar hedges are the one thing Brett doesn't want to see.
Exactly.
So Sarah helped them a list of plantings and then a style of fence that they could go with. And that's where I ended up with the development permit and the development variance permit. Again, it's in the town center area, so it requires that development permit, and it's zoned mobile home park in the zoning bylaw. So you can see where the fencing and the screening would be on the drawing, and then so private fencing and screening. And then it was actually interesting during the planning and development committee meeting, then Deb Heap and John Braun had some recommendations. They want to go with a solid cedar fence, and I guess some discussion around the maintenance of the fence and how it's going to look over time. And they convinced the owner to look at black corrugated metal with wooden posts, so kind of like what's down at the bus stop bistro. So a little bit of a different look. And then yeah, we came up with a list of fire vegetation and a list of plants they can use. And then the variance is to vary the height from 1.2 meters to 2 meters, so from 4 feet to 6 feet essentially, and vary the landscaping from 9 meters to 2 meters. So we sent out notices to adjacent landowners, and we did receive one comment that came in from somebody who lives on the property, and they thought 2 meters would be appropriate because the property is lower than the road. So that an increased height would actually be better for them and provide some kind of screening. And Planning and Development Committee recommended approval. No concerns or objections. During the consultation, obviously, Brett did say he wanted that the landscaping to be that from the Fire Smart guide, which they've included in the permit. And again, it's improves the property, improves the privacy, will look good from Main Street, and staff's recommending that the permits be issued.
Right, I'll read the recommendation. That the district of Sycamoose authorize and issue development permit number 22-331-DP to permit the development of screening, landscape and fencing, and development variance permit 22-331-DVP to vary the maximum permitted height of fencing and hedging within 6 meters of a driveway access or road right of way to 2 meters for the properties legally described as lots 11, 12, and 13, except parcel A, block D, District Lot 452, Kamloops Division, Yale District, Plan 5151, located at 469 Main Street. Can I get a mover? Counselor Rich, Counselor Haley, any discussion on this? All in favor? Carried. And Bob's in favor as well? Hey, Bob. Okay, 109 Finlayson Street lease agreement. I'm going to read the recommendation and then Kelly, you can speak to this. Recommendation that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to enter into a lease agreement with Bus Stop Bistro Inc. for use of the land located at 109 Finlayson Street as presented this 10th day of May 2023. Kelly?
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, this is a lease that we've renegotiated with Bus Stop Bistro for lands at 109 Finlayson. So they previously had a 2-year, was it a 2-year? Yeah, a 2-year lease, a 2-year term, an option to renew, and that has now subsequently expired. So now what we're proposing is another 2-year lease with another 2-year renewal term. So it starts June 1st. The 2 years ends at the end of May 2025. The monthly rent has increased from $350 to $375 a month. So when we negotiated this, that land was bare. All the leasehold improvements and everything was paid for by the Bus Stop Bistro at the time. And we did get a fair market value assessment of $350 at the time. So we've increased it 7.5%. We also want it to be reasonable so that, you know, it's affordable as well. Either party can terminate the lease within written notice in 90 days. So it does have flexibility, and it's to be used for a family-oriented bistro. So if we don't approve this lease, the land would sit vacant. And I mean, we do generate $4,500 annually from that amount, which offsets taxation revenue. And we would have to do, with any lease, we have to do public notification. So this would have to go in a couple newspapers to let the public know what we're leasing, the terms of the lease.
Okay, thank you. Can I get, I don't think I called for mover. No, and Ian. Okay, any discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? And Bob. Okay, moving along, recommendation that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to enter into a lease agreement with Dr. Jonathan Lowe Inc. to operate a dental clinic at Unit 1C-217 Finlayson Street as presented this 10th day of May 2023. Can I get a mover on this one? Councillor Rich, Councillor Beach, Kelly, you want to take it away?
Yeah, most definitely. So this is another straightforward lease, but it's a very exciting one. When we purchased the medical or the 217 Finlayson building, we assumed the tenants and the leases therein, and the Sicamous Dental Clinic was one of them. Their lease expired at the end of January 2023, and they decided not to renew it. However, somebody by the name of Dr. Jonathan Lowe did reach out to us. He has now acquired the business and he is wanting to lease that space. So we've negotiated, I think, a pretty reasonable lease term. It's for 1 year with 1 year renewal. He doesn't know, he's planning to work there for the first year, 2 to 3 days a week to see if he can build up the business there to open longer. He does operate in Sorrento and in Salmon Arm right now. So this is kind of a natural progression of the area. The monthly rent is $2,400 a month. The previous one was 28, so it is a reduction. But if you go in there, there's some work that needs to be done in the building, and compared to the other tenants in that building, it's actually higher per square foot than the other tenants that we currently lease to. So I feel it's more than reasonable. Once again, the terms are very similar. Either party can terminate within 90 days, and it's for the operations of a dental clinic. This is to be starting May 1. I know it is May 10th today. We've got it started May 1. He takes over at some point in May, and we didn't know what that date was. So we just started it May 1st. We'll prorate the first month's rent accordingly once he has the takeover date. This will also be advertised in the newspaper as well. If there's any questions and comments, I'm happy to take them. We generate about almost $27,000 worth of income for the year on that. It's better than being empty.
Yeah, absolutely. Council, any questions? Let's call the question. Oh, Councillor Beach.
No questions. I'm just saying.
Okay, so I'll call the.
I'm excited.
All in favor? Carried.
Hey, I'm going to that dentist. I checked mine tooth the other day. So this is good.
Okay, moving along. 2022-2023 District of Sicamous Council Strategic Plan. Recommendation that council endorse the 2022-2026 District of Sicamous Strategic Plan and related council research portfolio protocols as presented this 10th day of May 2023. Kelly?
Yes, so this is very exciting. So no surprise to everybody in this room. We had a session offsite on March 30th to come up with our new direction, our vision, priorities, and our values. And I think we spent a lot of time on it, and I think we've done a good job. This came back to the April meeting to review, to discuss, and to tweak. And so this is the final document here that we're endorsing. Not to be said that this can't be brought back at any point and modified. It can be a fluid document, but for now, this is what it is. And I'll just for everybody in the gallery's sake. There's not too many of you, but that's fine. The vision that council collectively agreed to was to strive to be a vibrant, healthy community that embraces strong social, economic, and environmental values. Our priority areas, which we have detailed on the second page as well, are health and wellness, housing, community safety, recreation and tourism, economic growth, and our municipal assets. Our values are, I won't read the definitions, but they're collaboration, integrity, leadership, customer service, stewardship, and accountability. So that's how we want to do business. Those are the values that we want to be oozing from our pores while we're working on behalf of our residents. And then so that summarized everything on a nice, pretty one pager. And then on the back side, it goes into a little bit more detail. So it outlines each specific priority, the counselors assigned to each priority, as well as what tactics how are we gonna achieve these priorities? So for health and wellness, like what are we going to do? Well, we're going to develop the Shuswap Healing Center. We're going to continue to support the recruitment and retention of healthcare professionals. We're going to implement the Live More, Live Well strategy. We're going to support local education and cultural safety opportunities. So those are just an example of one of the different tactics that we're going to achieve success within each priority bucket. I also wanted to highlight is that we've got an updated, and council really hasn't, we haven't really talked about this before, is that updated council research portfolios. So I just wanted to highlight why we do, what's the rationale behind having this. And this is where we have council members who are specialists and utilize their interest, knowledge, and skill set related to a specific focus area or strategy. It's to encourage learning, sharing, and positive relationships between council members and between council and staff. So each portfolio, each priority is called a research portfolio. It has the tactics that we want to achieve, as well as a designated council member who it's their portfolio, right? So it's tied to it. So Councillor Bailey, Bushell, and Evans are the lead counselors in terms of recreation and tourism. So if there's a tactic on here and they can take the lead on, they can liaise with staff, with the CAO on trying to help achieve those. So that outlines that. The mayor oversees all the priority areas, ensures that decisions are made by council as a whole. So even though everybody has their specialty areas, notice it doesn't give anybody any special powers. It just says, you know what, Councillor Bailey, you're going to have a heightened knowledge level in tourism and recreation, right? So that's the area of your focus. Each council member are tasked with developing and maintaining that heightened level of knowledge and leadership in each area. And it doesn't provide any formal delegated power to that council person. And we must follow the community charter still. So there's no additional powers. And then it just outlines some obligations and roles here. So to be a key point of contact, to represent and advocate, to participate as the lead where appropriate, to provide guidance and direction in that area. And last but not least is communication and advocacy. So the mayor is always the official spokesperson, but then she has the ability to delegate to a council member as she sees fit as it relates to each of your special focus areas. So I just wanted to I threw that on there to provide some clarity. The last one had another page or two on it. So we tried to make this a little bit more clear. If there's any questions or concerns as it relates to this, because they kind of tie together.
Council, any questions? No good? Okay, thanks, Kelly. I'm gonna get could I get a mover, please? Councillor Bushell, Councillor Beach. Okay, again, any questions? Okay, we're gonna call the question. All in favor? And we're carried. Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah, and can I just throw in that, so then moving forward, what I'm going to do is that every quarter, all of the priority chart with your tactics. I'll do an update, like a more comprehensive one. We'll include this on our agenda, so it's always there as a reminder of how we're gonna focus and how we're gonna make decisions. But I'll have a formal update on all these things on a quarterly basis, and I'll bring those to council for us.
Perfect. Excellent. Okay, moving forward. Notices of motion, Highway 97A safety, and I brought this to staff to see, have a discussion, for us to have a discussion about it. Highway 97 between the Circle and Grandview, the condo. If you had a flat tire and you had to pull over on the shoulder of Highway 97 on either side, you'd fall into a hole that would swallow your car. So I'm asking that we speak to highways, our representatives, and see if we can get those filled. And I know the reason those big gaps are there is because the semis, that's where they stay at night. So they pull in but it's not semi parking. And like I said, if somebody had to swerve to miss something and hit one of those holes, those potholes, because they're huge, I'm not exaggerating, they would be in serious trouble. So I'm looking for some support, maybe so that staff can be directed to contact the Ministry of Transportation to have a look at that. And as well, when you're driving down the highway on that side, on the mountainside, there's some broken trees that are pointing spear-like straight down at the highway. So any land movement, any little slide, someone runs the risk of getting a tree through their windshield or, causing havoc on the highway. So I'd like to, that's the other part of my ask with this notice. So having said that, Councillor Rich.
Through the chair, when you say from the traffic circle, where the semis parking, like, do you mean along the highway?
To Capel, let's go to Capel, from the Circle to Capel.
Okay, so that, we used to have no trucks in here signs, so I'm not sure what happened to those. Because the trucks were parking there, and then there was an incident actually with a child. And they had no parking here signs, so I'm not sure if they just.
So perhaps they need to put those back out, because that would be a highways thing, not an.
Yeah, but maybe that's something we can look at, is why those signs.
Maybe we can add that to this letter as a suggestion that they revisit that. Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair, I agree. There were signs out there, because I remember our MLA, Greg Kylo, was truck parking right up against the fence there, and they're running, and some of them would run all night. And that's where those potholes come from. So there was no parking signs along that highway there. But it's not only just there, it's where it was by the Tim Hortons and all that way. It's, as soon as those trucks pull off the road, they're overweight and they just punch holes in the shoulders. But even, and when you talk about trees, even right from our city boundaries all the way in, there's some trees that are along the rock face by Mare Lake, that they've been there for like quite a few years. And it's, even with our brush cleanup, we don't have the capacity to stop vehicles and park a trailer on that corner while we try to fill it up. So those trees, they got to come out of the ditches, because they're too big as it is. I agree 100%.
Okay, thank you.
And also, sorry, just the condition of the Highway 97 and the Trans-Canada Highway, the turning lane coming from the east down to Highway 97, it is so rough in that.
Yeah.
If you don't pick the right spot, and it's just, it's terrible. It's just spend some money.
This letter's turning into about 3 pages. Two notable
I'd like
things
to
are
add-
now 3 pages of the letter. Yeah, okay, but Councillor McCabe is next.
Yeah, I don't think we've got a first and second on this. We're just talking about right now, right?
Yeah.
So
I haven't
maybe
made.
where we sort of could change it a little bit to define the area. It's Highway 97 goes right to American border in Osuyas.
We could say Capel.
So say Stickamoose arterial section. So that goes from the roundabout, like you said, right to our welcome to Sickamoose sign.
You got that.
Change that to Sickamoose arterial, I'm suggesting. Change that to Sickamoose arterial section And for leaning trees, call those danger trees because that's
There's a word for those?
yeah,
Okay.
Stranger danger trees. Yeah.
Great, okay.
that those two changes and then it defines the trees, defines the location,
Thank you.
keeps everything the same what you're looking for.
Good job. We have a highway guy. Good job. We have a highwayman. Counselor Bailey.
Well, I'd just like to add to the list. I know it's not in our jurisdiction, but CSRD. You know, we have dangerous roads all around Sycamore. Like Canby Soul Squad Road at Mount, it's like Swiss cheese right now, like with the potholes. And I take your point and I support this motion to talk to the ministry about that. And I think they should have a heightened sense of concern just because it is becoming so bad. It's a safety concern. It's not even an inconvenience anymore. It's like you're worried about literally going off the road when you hit some of these things. So yeah, I think this is a good thing to highlight to them. And it's a good thing for them to know that we're watching and that the community is also feeling the same way.
And we do have representation. We do have people that are responsible for our area. So we know who those folks are. So we will be contacting them directly. So Daryl, before we make this motion, and I have one question for you. Is AIM, and this has nothing to do with it's roads. It has AIM completed cleaning the highways?
Through the chair, I don't know. I know we're done, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, because I look at before where Gord's talking, before you turn onto Highway 97. That whole little island there between on the Trans-Canada between before just past Tim, it's filthy. It's like a little mud bog. And I saw them working there one day, but I don't know. So could you ask?
Into it.
Could you ask
Yep,
them?
yep.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to make a recommendation that staff be directed to contact the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure to raise safety concerns regarding Highway 97A, including potholes and danger trees. Arterial.
I think Sarah got the changes.
I know, I have the,
That staff be directed to contact.
you want to read why don't you read the recommendation?
That staff be directed to contact the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure to raise safety concerns regarding the
Arterial.
Sycamore arterial section of Highway 97A regarding potholes and danger trees.
Highway 90, okay, so right to that's just the second. Yep, okay. Could I get a mover? Counselor Rich, seconded by Counselor Beach. Any more discussion on this? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you, guys. Okay, resolution, okay, none, resolutions, none, correspondence.
I think
Wait
this
a
is a
minute,
late
you
item.
skipped the Keeping It Rural Conference.
It's hard to see it. Where is that?
B.
It's
Oh, sorry,
That's okay.
sorry, Pam, I did not see that. Kate, go ahead.
All right, so Keeping It Rural Conference is, we just got notice, Janet just got notice that it was happening, so I forwarded it on in Kelowna, June 1st and 2nd. It is about rural innovation. And we have been in the past, it's been a few years now, but it's very interesting. I just wanted to, I will be going to the rural health conference at that time, but I sent it through because I thought maybe one of our counselors could attend in Kelowna. And I don't know why they're so late sending it out because yeah, so anyway, so I just wanted to bring that up and see if there was some interest. And I also, at the same time, I forgot to do something with this drug awareness support event. So I'm going to ask now. I forgot to ask for support from the district to do to actually do the IT support, which we've had conversations about, but it has to go through council. So the district's support would be the tech support for us to run the session. And I'm asking if that is okay, if that would be something that the district would do.
Counselor Bailey.
I'll make the motion that the district support on IT for the
Occasional awareness theories.
Second that. Anyone else have any comments on that or? Kate, called question, all in favor, carried.
I have one more thing in here. I'm so sorry. I am going to the Rural Health Conference and I would really like to take Janet Semp with me because she worked on a team with us and she was one of the ones that nominated the district. I will be accepting the award for the council, but I would like her to be there to be part of the team, because that's what you're being recognized for, is how well you work with the community partners. And I know she's retiring in June, and I know she would really love to go. I will follow up on getting registered because they are actually registering us for free because we're winning an award. She may get that. If she doesn't, I've already asked my board to pay her way. I'm asking.
Just for our blessing, not.
I'm asking for your blessing to have her actually stand and receive this award at the rural health with me as a community partner, because that is what we're being recognized for.
Sure, thanks. Council, do you have does anyone not agree? You have our blessing.
perfect.
Okay.
It's easy. It was easy button.
Anything else, Pam?
Yeah. Would it be okay if we moved on with the council meeting now?
You may move on.
Oh, wait.
Just to the chair, just a question to the first item of business about the keeping it rural conference. Is there the desire from council to have a council member attend?
It doesn't look like it. Okay. Forget it. You can duplicate yourself in 2 places.
I considered going for half a day.
Okay, so on the way down. I'm gonna go to correspondence, BC timber sales correspondence regarding Wiseman Creek. We got an answer back, not a positive answer. They're moving forward. They feel that their hydrologists and geologists and every other ologist that they've got up there feels confident that them working that stretch, that block up there is going to be safe for the residents of Wiseman Creek. So they are specialists. They know what they're doing. So hopefully not going to be any issues. Councillor Bushel?
Just through the chair, do we know what blocks they are? Like, I know they give you a block number.
They gave numbers.
No mapping. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, through the chair, I believe there was a map in the first correspondence that they sent.
Oh, I can see that.
That correspondence is getting very long.
Let's see.
6.
Well, they're in the business of selling timber, so they got their experts to say, yeah, we can sell.
Absolutely. And you know what? And I mean, they should have experts on their team. That's their business. Okay. So that's the BC timber sales correspondence. Now we have other correspondence for information. Does anyone have anything that they want to speak to on that? Councillor Bushel?
I just want to let you know, I drove through the invasive species checkpoint in Golden yesterday and
Yay.
there was nobody there.
Oh,
Really?
really?
The sign's out on the highway, but there's nobody there.
I heard it advertised on the radio.
That's wonderful.
And that was like in the afternoon, daylight.
One of the busiest points in probably BC, coming into BC.
So the advertising staff at. Yikes.
Pam,
Yeah,
on that.
I know, my phone died. I had a whole bunch I wanted to speak to, but now I can't. Oh, all right.
I'd like to just acknowledge the letter from Minister Ann Kang and again for the funds. Appreciate Gordon. Go ahead, Councillor Bushel. No, I'm good. I'm good.
I just let Daryl, they wanted prostate cancer, wanted the roundabout lit up in September. I think it was September.
That was one.
In that letter there.
Well,
And I think that's a good,
For blue,
where is it? Sorry.
yeah,
I have blue.
line up for blue in September.
And is May also invasive species month?
It is. That's, yes, it is.
So
Oh,
they're
I,
not showing up. They're not showing up. Go ahead, Pam.
oh, it's probably not the right time to ask. I don't know, this is just correspondence, but it is invasive species month. And I guess it's up to me to, as the representative to the.
Maybe give them, yeah, exactly. Okay. Thanks. Anyone else have anything else they want to? Okay, we're going to open up the floor to questions. Questions?
I know.
No, all good. Anyone online? We got a hand up. Deb? Deb, can you hear us?
I'm on my computer now. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
No.
Okay, I was on my phone earlier. I could not get it. It said it was unmuted, but anyway, just a couple things. Yeah, thanks to everybody for the community cleanup and such. But as you can probably tell from listening to me, I'm quite sick, so I've got to try and get healthy before I go on my trip. But I just wanted to congratulate Carly and Tamara and Nicole and Lisa for their spring festival. It was a great event, and it's really great to see other people taking on gardening things. The only other thing is I just want to remind you guys, I am gone and Anna Marg is gone for 6 weeks. I am making myself a real big list so I can hit the ground running when I get back, but I need other people to kind of take up the charge, so.
6 weeks without Deb, that's going to be a big list.
I promise to never do it again.
No more vacation for you.
No, exactly.
Okay, thanks, Deb. Anyone else?
Yeah, we need a list of what you do so that we can do all that.
I'm talking to Daryl about it.
I got the list.
It's like this.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, thanks, Deb. Thanks, everyone. We're gonna adjourn a recommendation at the regular council meeting from May 10th, 2023. Be adjourned at 6:34. Can I get a mover? Councillor Ridge, Councillor Bushel, all in favor? And we are done. Thanks, everyone. Bye, Bob. Bye, Bob.
Half hour. What's this?